Hello everyone, welcome back to Wolfpack Wednesday number 13. What most people consider to be an unlucky number actually is my favorite number, 13. I was also born on the 13th, so I'm like, since the very beginning, I'm like, you know what? If everyone considers this day to be an unlucky day, then I'm gonna do the complete opposite and go against the norm. Hence why 13 is my favorite number. Anyways, I digress. Today we are doing a monthly wrap-up video like we always do. And I figured I'd add something a little new to the mix. And after the end, or at the end of this video, I'm gonna go ahead and tell you what was my favorite game to play as of that month. Now, we did talk about a good amount of these games, which I'm gonna go ahead and breeze through because I talked about like a weekend of gaming, and actually a lot of the games that I played this month was covered in that one weekend. But I'm gonna cover them again, just kind of breeze through them briefly, and then we'll talk about the other ones that are new to you or new to me explaining them to you. Get me. First up, Heat, Pedal to the Metal. Such a good racing game. I'm not even remotely interested in any kind of racing game really, but this one plays so freaking well at, I think 3 players and above seems to be a really good spot. Everyone loves this game because of how crazy and how wild it is, catching up to other players. And it really does feel like a fast-paced racing game where everyone's kind of neck and neck to the very, very end. And the fact that it's a race too, but it also has a lot of strategic mechanics that you're paying attention to makes it such a good hit for me. And I can't wait to get more of those games played in for sure, because Heat, let me tell you now, so good. Definitely delivers. It lives up to the hype for sure. Game number 2 was Blood Rage, which I actually just played a few hours ago. I had a couple of friends that were spontaneously here in town visiting, and I'm like, hey, you wanna, they love board games too. So I figured, why not try to fit in Blood Rage? We did. I had a ton of fun with it. Everyone I introduced this game to has absolutely loved this game. Even non-combat type people, gamers, love this game. Okay, Blood Rage is so fun. I love the card drafting from each round. I love the different strategies that you can go through with like the Loki strategy, kind of capitalizing on killing off your soldiers. That way you are scoring as many points in Valhalla, which is like the graveyard, versus Thor, who's all about battle, versus Odin, who's all about like doubling up on points in quests and some other things. But it's really fun because you get to choose which god you kind of steer towards and then lean your strategy towards that way. And it's just really, really fun. And I think the most interesting part about Blood Rage for me right now is the fact that it's anyone's game the entire way through. Like for this most recent game, one of my other friends was like in the lead by like double, almost triple of our points. And then by the end, it just changes completely. So I just absolutely love that. And I can't deal with how good Blood Rage is. And I don't know why it took me so long to get into Blood Rage, you know? Okay. Then we move on to game number 3. This was Nemesis. Everyone calls it a cinematic game, and I can see why. Nemesis has a really good plot to it because it's a survival themed game, but it's also, it could potentially be like a one versus many, or like you just don't know who's bad and who's good. You don't know who's going to help you. And by the very end, ultimately, you're trying to help yourself. So it is a competitive game, but there are some semi-cooperative aspects to it where you're on a spaceship, you're trying to survive, and you're just trying to actually not fight aliens. It's actually very, very difficult to fight them. Overall, Nemesis is very different from any other game that I've played. I really enjoy it so far, and I can't wait to get some more games into. We played it at 4, and I kind of want to try it at like 3, or maybe if it goes up to 5, I want to try it at 5 too, because I feel like it's definitely a 3-player and up experience. And then, speaking of Awakened Realms, who published Nemesis, we also covered, or also we played through The Great Wall again. And for The Great Wall, the thing is for that game is that I think the setup for both games is what kind of keeps me a little bit guarded in terms of putting them as my favorite. Like, they're very good. I love Nemesis. I love The Great Wall. I'm starting to really see those games shine. Like, luckily, they're not deteriorating for me. I think the more I get past the rules, and the more I understand the game, then the more I'm enjoying it for sure. But the initial setup is a little daunting because there's a lot of stuff going on. It's not like Ankh though. Ankh is another game that we played. I'll talk about that in a second. But like the setup for Nemesis and Great Wall is a lot. And I feel like the payoff, I'm not fully seeing yet. Like I want to play the game, but I'm not like super driven to play it. I think I more so want to play it because it's like, it's a heavy game and we have a lot of players coming in. That's why I want to play it, because of my 4-player count and because everyone's down to learn a more heavier gaming experience. This is why I've been playing those two a little more often, but I don't know how I fully feel about them just yet. They're really fun, but I don't know if the setup is gonna deliver on the payoff. Now, speaking of setup, we also played Ankh 2. Ankh, one of my top 10 games from last year. The fusion mechanic, the fusion of gods, is such a fun, probably the most fun catch-up mechanic I've ever played in any game. It's just so incredible how you're able to combine each other's powers together and compete against like player 1, player 2, depending on how many people you play with. But the setup for Ankh sucks because I hate having to look at a predetermined map and then kind of just putting everything one by one, putting the camels in by one, putting in each god's position and their warriors and the pyramids and the obelisks. Like all of that is very daunting. It's probably one of the reasons why I don't take out Ankh as often, but that one definitely delivers because at 3 players and up, it's so freaking fun. I can't even deal with how funny and how entertaining it is when people start combining their powers, and the pacing is just constantly going up. I just overall love games where the excitement just keeps on going and going and going. And the very end, it's very like fulfilling to be able to finish the game through and see who wins. So games like that, I'm a sucker for. Okay, so that was like my initial weekend in June. We got tons of gaming back to back played after that. And then about halfway through the month, we got another weekend of gaming in and we played at Dog Park, which the expansions is on Kickstarter now and it's not a sponsored video, but I really, really love that game. If you're looking for a really fun, family-friendly, dog-themed game with worker placement, trust me, it's a really, really fun one. You don't want to miss out on the Kickstarter. Dog Park is freaking amazing, playing across 2, 3, 4 players. And it's also super easy to learn because ultimately you are growing an engine of different dogs and you only gain like 2 dogs per turn. And then you go to the park, and as you're visiting the park, you're gathering resources in order to pay for more and more dogs. So the concept there is really easy. The expansion is going to add a lot more strategic depth to it. But honestly, it's like a super, super fun game. I did a whole review about it as well. They can check out if you're more interested in it. But I really love Dog Park and it's freaking amazing. Then after that, we also got a full game of Expeditions played at 4. So here's the thing. Expeditions, right, is a sequel to Scythe. And I feel like it may be misnamed in a sense because it's hard to compare the two. Scythe and Expeditions has some similarities, and I'm going to dive all into this when I talk about my full-on Scythe versus Expeditions review. But the core mechanics of Expeditions is really fun because it's similar to Scythe in that you take an action and then you can't take that same action next turn. You have to take the other unblocked actions. So in that case, it's similar to Scythe and the artwork is similar, but honestly, it's a very, very different game. I wouldn't necessarily say like Expeditions is better at a different player count than Scythe because it just depends on how you like to play. If you like solitaire-like games, then Scythe is going to be an incredible game. Doesn't matter if you're playing at 3, 4, 2 players. But if you like more engine building, they both have incredible engine building aspects. It's just that the way you're building out your tableau is different because in Expeditions, you are gathering a set of cards around your tableau. And each of those cards, depending on where you put them, like up, down, left, right, is going to build out your engine and make you stronger in a different way versus like gathering or pumping up how many more resources that you're getting each turn, your ability to take out corruption more from like the lands that you're exploring. So I feel like Expeditions is great. Overall, Expeditions is super fun, but if I had to choose between Expeditions and Scythe, you're gonna have to wait for the review for that because I want to get a couple more games in. That way I give you a fully detailed analytical breakdown about why I would choose one over the other. Okay, now moving on to have, let's see, 1, 2, 3 more games played this month. The next one I played is one that I brag about a little too often, and honestly, I need to calm down with this one. So the next one we played was Aquatica, and I played this with Josh, who is my second shooter, good close friend of mine, also helps me out on a ton of videos on this channel too. You've seen him quite often here. But we played Aquatica, and it's his first time playing. And here I am, always freaking bragging again about, I'm undefeated in Aquatica. No one can beat me in Aquatica. Well, to be fair, I lost 1, 2, 3 times now in Aquatica. I used to have an undefeated streak, and now I've lost once to Jackie. I've lost once to Meeple Conrad, and now I've lost 3 times to Josh in Aquatica, and it's killing me. He learns so freaking fast. Like I obviously won in the first one. That's not fair because like it's his first time learning this game. Honestly, even the 3rd time's not fair because I played this game a bajillion times. But still, by then he adapted real quick and learned the strategies, and he really picked up on it. So, yep, Aquatica, he destroyed me on. Aquatica is definitely a top 10 game for me of all time. I cannot stop playing this game, and I never hesitate to take out this game to introduce to new players because it's really fun to teach. It's very different from anything else, and I love the different ways that you're able to play around the components, right? Like there's no other game that I've seen where you're taking a card from like the draw pile, inserting it into a double layered player board, and then using the little wells to activate different actions. And plus being able to combo off different actions back to back to back, super satisfying. And one reason why I really, really love that game. And I never stopped loving it. Honestly, it's just so freaking amazing. So that was Aquatica. We played that 3 times back to back. And then there are 2 more games that we played. This next one is Magic the Gathering Lord of the Rings. We had an entire Magic day. And it was my first time playing Magic. So in this little tournament we had like a little drafting tournament, and it was super cool because my cousin bought like a bunch of booster packs for us, and we opened up 3 packs and we just drafted cards until we had, I think, like 26 cards each. And then we filled that in with like 14 land cards. So real quickly, how Magic works is land is your resource. You play a land card, and that's gonna be able to allow you to pay for different cards that you play. So if like I pay 1 mountain, then I can play a mountain themed creature. And ultimately, you're trying to take down the other person's life to 0. We all start off with 20 points. And some of these creatures usually have like 1, 2, the stronger ones have like 3, 4 attack value. And then defense value is how you get rid of creatures. So what's interesting about Magic is that I feel like it's really easy to grasp. It's way, way easier. Like the learning curve for Magic is super, super easy compared to like how it's shown, because Yu-Gi-Oh is way harder to learn. I feel like teaching anybody Yu-Gi-Oh nowadays would be pretty difficult because there's so many different ways to, as Sam was saying from Lord of the Board, he was telling me about this and I kind of can't stop thinking about it, but he was right. In Yu-Gi-Oh, you have so many ways to summon monsters. In Magic, there's just one way. As soon as you have enough resources, boom, there goes your creature on the board. And what I think is pretty interesting and also very confusing to me still is that when you attack with your monsters or monster, you're attacking the person directly. So you declare an attack with however many creatures that you have, and then the other player can respond by allocating their own creatures to different monsters to either block them or not block them and save them on the board. I had to get used to it, and I don't know if I fully love that just yet, just because, like I said, I'm so used to Yu-Gi-Oh, where like we have a monster in attack mode, they're attacking monsters, you can't even touch the player until, like, unless there's a special effect, or until we are getting rid of their field of monsters. And then if they're in a defense mode, then you can't attack them at all. So like I said, it's very different. Overall though, I really loved Magic, especially with it being Lord of the Rings, the reason why I love it even more. And I ended up playing as like the orcs and the spiders. It was a black spell magic color, which are very, very aggressive, and also played green, which usually has like a lot of big creatures and creatures that deal damage over time, like spiders. Or spiders also have like this thing called death touch, where if you attack a spider, that monster dies. So honestly, my deck was pretty strong, and I, not to brag or anything, but I ended up playing 9 games. I'm totally humble bragging right now, but you know what? I'm gonna go with it because I've already committed to it. Out of 9 games, I won 8 of them, and it was so freaking fun. I loved playing against everyone else, because what's so cool is that with drafting, everyone starts on the same playing field, right? So you choose your own cards, and you choose how many resources that you're gonna have into your cards too. So being able to build out your deck, playing against different players and different deck types has been super fun. I can't wait to play a lot more and try out the other spells too. I also apparently was very predictable because everyone assumed I was gonna play a hyper aggressive deck, which wasn't fully true, okay? Because I played black, which is supposed to be hyper aggressive. I did get a lot of red cards, which were also known to be very aggressive as well. But I mixed in some green, okay? It wasn't fully hyper aggressive. Y'all don't know me. Honestly, I'm just too much. Okay, and the last game that we finished off June with was Imperial Settlers, Empires of the North. Sam, if you're watching this video, you were so right about this game. Sam told me about this game ages ago, told me to get it, and I ended up getting Settlers of the North and Raiders of the North. And Settlers of the North was super, super fun. I played it once at 2 players, just me and Jackie, and I really, really love how asymmetry is designed in that game, because each deck is asymmetric. You don't really have an asymmetric power per se, but the cards that you have are unique depending on the clan that you play. And how it works is you're building out just a really huge engine that just grows over time. And your goal is to expand your empire to have the biggest empire and be the first one to score 25 points. And we were neck and neck for a while until the very, very end. And then Jackie just busted out all these combo points. So overall, it's a game that I can't wait to play a lot more. It's so fun. And now I just know that I'm tempted to get the expansions ready. And yeah, that was our month of gaming. What I'm also going to try to commit to for the upcoming like couple weeks before Gen Con, I'm going to try to get at least half my unplayed games played. So, okay, I have 16 ungames played, all right? That sounds like a lot. But if I'm looking at my bookshelf, I have 4 bookshelves, which is why I always look this way. I have 4 bookshelves, okay? Out of those 4 bookshelves, 3.5 of them have played games. So only half of a bookshelf with 16 games, which are pretty small box games or like medium box games, are unplayed. So I don't think that's too bad. I feel like that's pretty close to getting an entire played collection of games. I'm gonna try to not buy a single game until those 16 are done. I committed last summer, I failed miserably, and I'm gonna try again for this summer. So we'll see how that goes. And then the last thing I wanted to end with was which one was my absolute favorite game to play this month. Oh, this is a tough one. By the way, we also played Wonderland's War. Forgot to mention that as well. That was like my favorite game of last year. So of course it's gonna be up there. But at the same time, I also don't want to be too repetitive. If I just had to pick one for the month of June, I feel like it'd be a tough call between Imperial Settlers and Heat. But if I had to choose only one, I'd have to say, this is tough. I'd have to say Empires of the North. And the only reason why it might be themed, like I said, I'm not big on like card themes. Heat, again, like when I pick a game over the other, it doesn't mean the other game is like terrible or anything. Like Heat is amazing. Heat is a really, really fun game. Absolute staple in any collection. But I feel like it may get a little redundant. And again, like I always prefer like my asymmetry. I always love having a lot of things to do on your turn. Heat is more of like a fast-paced game. So I guess it depends on my mood. Like if I want a game where like it's gonna be quick and we want a lot of tension, then Heat instantly. But on a typical day, like most of the days, I would probably go with Imperial Settlers just because I love being able to have a lot of different paths to victory, and I haven't even explored all the other clans yet. The way engine building has been approached in that game is so unique, so dynamic, because there are a ton of different ways for you to score points. And I think what's most fun too is that you're able to piggyback off of other cards and use them in very different ways. So like I know already that every single experience that I'm gonna get with Imperial Settlers is gonna be vastly different from the last one, depending on the clan you play and depending on how you play that clan throughout the entire game. So that's my decision for that month. June definitely goes to Imperial Settlers. And yeah, let me know if you are down to see more of these, like my favorite game of the month, like expanding onto my monthly recap videos too, because I feel like I want to do that going on every month, because then it's cool to see like how my decisions are changing with every month and seeing what games are taking it for each time as we go. If you made it here to the very, very end, let me know what your favorite, since it's summertime, let me know what your favorite summertime activity is. For us, it is camping by a mile. Should probably bring like parks or something camping too. That'd be super fun. With that said, thank you all so much for watching. As always, Wolfpack, you are the absolute best. And I cannot wait to share more about the Scythe versus Expedition video, which hopefully is coming up very soon. I'm gonna try to do it within a week. I'm gonna try my best. Aren't we all? See y'all later.